Welcome to this explainer. For the longest time, talking about regulating artificial intelligence felt a bit like debating science fiction, right? Well, that era is officially over. We are going to break down the monumental shift happening in global AI regulation right now, as of August 2026. We are witnessing a massive, coordinated pivot across the globe, moving away from theoretical policy debates and diving straight into active, rigid enforcement. If we look back, July 2026 was literally the tipping point where abstract ideas turned into real-world regulatory impact. And we were looking at a massive geopolitical scale here. From the UN in Geneva to the US Capitol, all the way to the EU and China, we're seeing new laws, global standards, and an unprecedented focus on frontier AI safety being locked into place on a planetary level.
So here is our roadmap to make sense of all this. 1. The shift to enforcement. 2. Enforcing the EU AI Act. 3. AI meets global cybersecurity. 4. Empowering developing nations. And 5. How this affects you.
All right, let's jump straight into part 1, the shift to enforcement, from policy to action.
For years, the global community was kind of just spinning its wheels, drafting policies, proposing legislation, and debating what ethical AI should even look like. But as of this month, governments and international bodies are officially moving into the present. We are firmly in the age of active implementation and enforcement. Regulators are no longer just writing the rules, they are actively out there policing them.
And what's really fascinating is seeing how different global players are tackling this. For instance, President Xi Jinping recently stressed China's push for a multilateral governance approach, essentially saying we need international cooperation, not dominance by any single country. Meanwhile, the UN is busy advancing these evidence-based frameworks to help nations interoperate smoothly. But then, look at the World Health Organization. They just met with 37 countries and found a glaring issue. Everyone is already using AI for medical diagnostics, sure, but only a tiny fraction of them actually have clear legal liability frameworks in place for when those systems fail. Which brings us to part 2, enforcing the EU AI Act, the vanguard of regulation. Circle this date on your calendar, August 2nd, 2026. This is the moment the European Union enters a brand new, highly aggressive phase of active regulation. The EU AI Act is officially bearing its teeth. If you provide AI-generated text, audio, video, or realistic images, you now face mandatory transparency requirements. And this isn't just a gentle suggestion. Organizations that fail to comply are looking at substantial financial penalties. The whole move fast and break things era just hit a massive regulatory stop sign. So how are they pulling this off? Brussels has expanded their AI enforcement office with a super targeted mandate. First up, they are establishing oversight of frontier AI models, the absolute most advanced systems on the planet. Second, they are mandated to actively investigate systemic risks before these models are deployed to the wider public. And third, they're managing confidential channels for whistleblowers. They are directly targeting the safety of high-risk foundation models and building the infrastructure to hold developers accountable from the inside out. Let's move on to part 3, AI meets global cybersecurity, merging two worlds.
Now, this right here is what's keeping global leaders awake at night. Recent demonstrations have shown autonomous AI systems fully capable of executing incredibly sophisticated cyber attacks. This entirely shifted the regulatory timeline. Suddenly, regulators realized that a rogue or unsecured AI isn't just a copyright issue or a data privacy problem, it's a direct, immediate threat to critical infrastructure. This forced international bodies to prioritize security above everything else.
To combat this, the European Commission rolled out a very specific AI and cybersecurity action plan. It's a step-by-step framework that beautifully links AI oversight directly with cyber resilience. Step 1, create secure testing environments. Step 2, rigorously evaluate advanced models before they even hit the market. Step 3, force absolute cooperation with existing cybersecurity agencies. And Step 4, drastically improve our security standards to protect critical infrastructure from AI-driven threats. It is essentially a highly structured defense mechanism.
All right, part 4, empowering developing nations, the global bridge.
The massive buzzword you need to know here is capacity building. As these regulations get incredibly complex and resource-intensive, a major priority for international bodies right now is making sure developing nations actually have the technological and regulatory strength to handle them. The last thing anyone wants is for these new compliance mechanisms to become impossible burdens that lock developing economies completely out of the AI revolution. That's exactly why groups like the UN, ICANN, and the Internet Society are making this global support a top priority. They understand that AI infrastructure is becoming completely intertwined with core internet governance. So, they are pushing hard for multi-stakeholder models to coordinate international policy, promoting interoperability between national regulations, and ensuring that developing nations have a real seat at the table. It is all about creating a bridge so that this rapid advancement benefits the entire globe, not just a handful of wealthy tech hubs.
And finally, part 5, how this affects you, the everyday internet user.
Okay, so we've looked at the massive global shifts, but what does this mean for you when you just open up your browser? Get ready for a brand new global norm: content provenance and digital watermarking. Because of laws like the EU AI Act, tracking, labeling, and disclosing AI-generated content are now mandatory compliance mechanisms. This is a strict legal requirement. When you use AI to create text, audio, or an image, that content absolutely must carry a verifiable trace of its artificial origins. As an everyday user, you are going to see this immediately. Expect clear, standardized labels and digital watermarks popping up all over your feeds on realistic AI content. But it goes way deeper than just a visual tag. Behind the scenes, the actual mechanics of the internet are shifting. Identity authentication and DNS security are becoming vastly more important, so we can verify who is a real human and what is synthetic. It is fundamentally changing how we establish truth online.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one absolutely critical question to chew on. We've seen today that the laws are finally catching up to the technology we currently have. But as AI continues to accelerate toward fully autonomous agents, can our global multi-stakeholder governance frameworks possibly evolve fast enough to safely regulate what's coming tomorrow? It's the question that will define the next decade of our digital lives. Thanks for diving into this with me.